Are you ready to move forward with your entrepreneurial dreams? Starting or building a business is not for everyone, but if you have the drive and passion to make a difference in the world, then being an entrepreneur is a great way for you to make a dent in the universe. I'm David Mammano, a 7-time successful serial entrepreneur, and I am ready to help you. On Avanti Entrepreneur TV, I will interview some of the most successful business owners of our time. The goal is to get you the knowledge and inspiration you need so that you can bring your entrepreneurial dreams to the next level. Avanti means move forward in Italian, and that's exactly what you will do when you watch Avanti Entrepreneur TV. I'm here in Brooklyn, New York, right across from Manhattan, New York, about to interview Norm Brodsky. Norm has been a personal friend and mentor for years of mine and really thousands of others. And he's going to be the first guest on my new show called Avanti Entrepreneur TV. The reason I chose Norm is because he's so great at sharing his success, but also his failures, really with the whole point of helping others grow and succeed. Super pumped to have a great interview with Norm. Thank you so much for being the first guest on my new show.
Well, I'm very excited, Dave.
I appreciate it.
Especially to be your first guest.
The first one. Do you know why I chose you?
I have no idea.
Let me tell you why I chose you. Norm, you have been such not only a massively successful business person throughout the years, but you've been willing to share all your experiences, the highs and the lows, and you've been willing to meet with young entrepreneurs, old entrepreneurs, just any entrepreneur or business person in general that is seeking your help. You somehow find the time to do that. A lot of business people only want to talk about their successes, but I think what makes you special is you talk about where you've messed up as well. You're not embarrassed by it. It seems like you view it as a learning experience, as a chance to have a new beginning, and sharing that with people to realize that there are highs and lows, and it is a roller coaster.
Yeah, but most people in life fail at something, and they keep trying.
Right.
So I look at success as the key step from failure. Mm-hmm. And so the first businesses you've known, I took from zero to $140 million in 6 years. Mm-hmm. And then I took that business from $140 million to zero in 6 months.
Right, so truly the roller coaster.
Truly the roller coaster. When I say that, if I'm giving a speech somewhere, people laugh and I say, it wasn't funny then, it isn't funny now. Mm-hmm. And so the one thing I was able to do, and I don't know if I did it instinctively or I don't know what drove me to do it, is what did I contribute to that failure? Mm-hmm. Because at that time, two things happened. In 1987, the stock market crashed, for those of us who remember.
Right.
And I could have blamed it on that because one of the businesses I had was a $1 billion business itself that did financial printing, and I was doing 40% of my volume in that business, and that dropped to zero.
So a big egg in the basket that went away.
Yeah, so I could have blamed it on that. The second thing that happened is at that time, for those of us who remember the fax machine, fax had just come in.
Right.
And so I was in the delivery business. So there were less envelopes to deliver and the same number of companies chasing that business.
Right.
So I could have blamed it on that. But when I decided to do an introspection of what happened, I discovered that I did something that if I hadn't discovered this, I'd probably repeat that same mistake over and over again. And I call that the Groundhog's Day syndrome, where you make a mistake and you don't realize it and you keep repeating it over and over. And what I discovered was that I had one company in that series of companies that was really good, and it was a moneymaker. And I used that cash flow and hawked that cash flow to supply the other businesses. And if I hadn't done that, even though the crash occurred, and even though I would have lost some business, I still would have survived. So that lesson that I learned really helped me later in life, because today, if I have a business that's throwing off great dollars, I do not use its credit.
Right.
If I want to start something new, which I always have the inkling to do, I make sure I have the money outside the business. First thing. And the second thing what I do is, let's suppose I do cash flow sheets and it shows I need $1 million. You know, most entrepreneurs have the same habits. We overestimate sales and we underestimate costs. And I know that. Right. So I take another 25%, so another $250,000, and put it aside. And once I don't make it with that, if my estimates are correct, I close the business down. So I've learned two things. One, I don't plunge the assets from one company to another, a good company,
Right.
to something that's speculative. And two, I have a limit on what I do.
Right.
So from that, ashes became the phoenix of my existence in the companies I built today.
Gave you great experience to teach others.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, two things I tell entrepreneurs. The first thing, you're going to make mistakes, and you really have to learn from mistakes. The second thing that I say is that understand once you start down this road of entrepreneurship, try to make it work, because you can never get a job again.
Right.
You're too undisciplined. You come and go what you want. You don't listen to anybody. Who's going to hire somebody like that?
Right.
So try to make it work the first time. I've been fortunate to help not hundreds but thousands of people over the years.
Thousands. Yeah.
Yeah, and I get something from it. I usually get a story. You know, I've been writing for 23 or 24 years.
In Inc. magazine.
In Inc. magazine, so I get great stories and,
Yep.
you know, great lessons to learn. You know, most entrepreneurs, they need help. They don't know who to turn to. First of all, I think that the loneliest job in the world is that of being an entrepreneur. You know, because the people work for you.
Right.
You know, and I really think, I always say I have no friends in business. You know, not that I don't celebrate occasions with my employees or get close to the employees, but they're not my friends.
Right.
I learned that that's a mistake if you make them your friends. But you can be cordial, you can go to their weddings, their special occasions and things of that nature.
So a little church and state.
A lot of church and state. And so you're alone.
Right.
And so it's difficult to find. You can hire consultants and stuff, but they really don't have that same stay in your business that you have. But what I found over the years is, like myself, most successful entrepreneurs will help other entrepreneurs. All you have to do is ask for it. Today, also, there's lots of organizations. There's EO, there's Vistage, there's tons.
Right.
We started one, you know, the Birthing of Giants.
Right.
So there are places you can go to.
A lot of resources.
There's more resources.
Yeah.
But if you can find a seasoned entrepreneur who's willing to listen to you and sort of, if you ask for offer advice, you know what, the first thing I say when people come to me for advice is that, let me tell you about advice, right? When you go to a man or a woman, whether you pay for it or get it for nothing, the only thing you're supposed to do with that advice is think about it. If you don't think about it, you're a fool.
Right.
You don't have to act on it because you know everything that's going on.
Right.
And if it feels wrong in your gut, follow your gut feelings.
Right. Yeah, I say that advice is like a buffet. You can't eat it all, and you take what you want, right?
Well, if you honestly think about it and you make up your mind, because what'll happen is if things don't go right, if you say, oh, it was his advice or her advice, you're blaming somebody else. You have to take responsibilities for what you do. And if you do that, you don't have to make the same mistakes over and over again.
So let's go back to, quote unquote mistakes. I call it failing forward, right? So your first business, the roller coaster, really high, really low, but then, you were unemployable, like we talked about.
Correct.
You weren't going to go work for somebody else. So tell us what happened after your first business, quote unquote, failed.
Well, so it was a dramatic thing. I mean, to go through a bankruptcy in a business is, I wish it on nobody. So I had to undig and I had to look for something new.
Right.
And I found the archival retrieval and records management business. And I started that business, in 1990.
And that was called City Storage?
It was called City Storage. I was 46 years old. I had just gone through a bankruptcy, and I was a little afraid. I shut down half my house. I did all sorts of cost-saving things.
I mean, how was it? I mean, I'm just on your self-esteem. I mean, you must have been in a boxing match with Muhammad Ali and lost, right? But you had enough confidence to keep on going.
Well, I don't know if the word was confidence, Dave. I think it was that I I had no choices. I mean, like you said, was I going to work for somebody after I'd been on my own all those years?
Right.
And built something that was, I thought at the time, pretty successful. I knew I had to start over again. But there was two things. I told you about one of the things already, about the mistake I made and the introspection on what I contributed to that mistake.
Right.
And the second thing I looked at was family values. I had my children are about 10 years apart, and so my first daughter, I didn't see her grow up. I was always in business, traveling, and I swore I would never do that again.
Right.
And so to fast forward, my second daughter, I went on all her class trips, and so not that I'm not close to both my daughters, I am,
Right.
but my second daughter, I speak to every day of her life.
Yeah.
So that paid off. I decided that I was going to do things differently this time when
Right.
it came to family. So I learned another important lesson about that.
Yep.
Entrepreneurs, for the most part, are driven, and sometimes we forget about what's most important.
Right.
Because, listen, even today, I don't have to. I would stay at business all day, every day.
Yeah.
So I learned how to balance my life a little bit,
Right.
and I think if I hadn't gone through that episode, that I probably wouldn't have what I have today in the way of family life.
Right.
Married 48 years,
Yeah,
same woman.
Tremendous.
Yeah, and my two kids each have kids.
Yeah.
And so I have a family that I probably, if I continued on the pace that I had set before, would have had it.
Right.
So I look at that experience of going through that pain
Yeah.
as a positive experience.
That's great. It's such a great point, because that's a question I ask a lot of entrepreneurs, or I want to find out, what is their family life like? Because you see these people that are billionaires, but their family life, 3, 5 divorces, their kids aren't doing well. And that, to me, is not a successful business person, right? I mean, it's a successful business person, in my opinion, is someone who has done really great in business, but even more so, done really great with the family life, and they're still close to their family. They talk to their kids every day.
So I don't look at it as being a business person. I look at it as being a person.
Just a holistic person.
A person, right, and every part of it, and so I get so much out of it, sharing these experiences with people. My father-in-law, who passed away a number of years ago, used to say, when you write, why do you tell all these stories about yourself? And why are you giving away secrets that people can copy?
Yeah.
And I'm saying, well, aren't you supposed to share your life with everybody?
Right.
So that was an outlet for me that was really surprising, that I found that outlet to be able to do that.
Sharing
it's
your
pretty
wisdom.
Cool. Sharing my experiences. I don't know how smart I really am.
Right.
Most ideas I steal from people and say, that's a great idea.
Right.
It was yours. We both know it, but I'm going to take it now and I'm going to embellish it, and it's going to become mine.
Right, yep.
So this will be the last time you get credit for it.
You're going to norm it up a little bit.
Well, but I do fairly tell people, and things that I see that I really like that people are doing, or things that they're saying that has some value to somebody, I tell them the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
Right. So City Storage ended up doing phenomenally well. And so take us to the next stage, if you don't mind.
So I built City Storage. It was a company that I decided I started to stay in one location and build this company.
Yep.
I had plenty of opportunities not to do it because I wanted to do other things with my life. I wanted to have a family life. I wanted to have this and that. And I built that business over a period of time, and eventually sold it for $110 million. I mean, more money than I'd ever imagined that it could possibly be.
Right.
So that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. So you're back on top again.
Well, it took a while, but the company was a very profitable company. I used to. My dream was to have a $100 million company. That when I first started the other company. So the first thing I would do is ask every day one thing: how much did we do in sales? I was driven to get that company to do $100 million. What a foolish thing. And I see most entrepreneurs do that too. And you ask them, how's your company? It's, we did $1.2 million last year. Well, that doesn't mean how's your company.
Right. What's the
You know,
profit?
you're a smart guy. What did I make?
Right.
So in the end, I ended up building a company that was only doing $25 million in business. I don't mean the word only, but compared to, what I wanted to do, and I sold it for $110 million. So,
Right.
which was better?
Yep.
It's
You
a
still had
real
the
simple
$100
thing.
million business.
So when you're driven by an idea or things like that, you have to think about what's important.
Right.
And along the way, it was phenomenal. How did I do that? Obviously, my employees did it. I didn't do it. And I discovered, my dad taught me lots of great business lessons. He was a custom peddler. That's a guy who sold door to door before the advent of credit cards and department stores.
Right.
And so I used to say, how do you make money? He says, it's really simple, son. He says, you buy something for $1, you sell it for $2. He says, and that's big markups. Of course, there was gross margins that he didn't understand.
Right.
And so I've kept that philosophy my whole life. There's all these great ideas around you. You just have to open up your eyes and look at what's doing. But one thing he said that wasn't true, I found later in life. He used to say the customer is the most important thing, and the customer's always right. And that's not true. The most important asset in your business are your employees. And so when I came along and I built City Storage, I had some great people that I met, like Jack Stack and Ari Rosenzweig and all these Ping Fu and all these men and women that made me understand the most important thing in my company was the culture of my company and the people that ran that company.
So why are your employees more important than your customers?
Because you can replace customers, you can't replace employees that easily.
Right.
And we always hire not for skills, we hire for attitude. So we had this great culture brought to the company by my wife, I must say.
Elaine.
She was the culture queen.
Yeah.
And so that's the most important thing. Your job, I think the most important job of a CEO is to create and run the culture of the company.
Right.
That could be your number one job in a company. Oh, sure. You have to make sure there's enough money in the bank. You have to watch out for sales. I can name a million things. But the most important part is the culture of your company. Your employees interact with your customers every day.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are hard to replace if you got good employees.
Well, just so you know, I agree with you 1,000%. You may know, in fact, you wrote a foreword for it. I wrote a book called Make Love in the Workplace, which is all about culture tips.
Absolutely.
And what I have found, and you have found, and a lot of small giants companies have found, is that when you do take care of the culture and your people first, you're right, it just ripples to everything else, right? So the customers will feel the engagement and the passion and the care.
It's unbelievable. So here's what we used to do with customers. We used to have the salespeople bring potential customers out to the facility that we ran, for City Storage. And as we would walk through that, we had about 500 employees. Now, I knew everybody's name, which is not an easy feat. Right?
Yeah.
Especially my memory isn't that good to start with. And so how did I do that? I'd hand out the paychecks. I'd call them to my office. So I would know everybody's name. And as I walked through, I would say, hey, John, how you doing? Hey, how you doing today? So we're walking through our facility, and I saw Denise, and she had a new hairdo. She just had her hair cut. And I hadn't seen her. I said, oh, look, you had your hair cut. She laughed, and the person said, how'd you know that? I said, what do you mean? I don't know how I knew that. And everybody said hello to me. We didn't ask them to say hello to me. Hey, good morning, Norman. How are you?
They cared.
Good morning.
They really cared about you.
They cared. And so we're walking through with this prospect, right? And so afterwards, we went upstairs, as we always do, make a presentation. And we had a very long close cycle in this business. It was about 24 months. And so I said, what did you think? And this person said, you know what? She says, I'm giving you my boxes. I said, why is that? She says, well, I don't own the company I work for. I'm an employee. And if your employees are so set and they like it here and they like you here, and you must treat them terrifically, she says, I'm giving you our business. So employees close the account. They keep your accounts for you for sure, but they close the account. So most people don't understand that.
Right. What inspired you to be an entrepreneur from the beginning?
Well, that's really interesting. So, I graduated law school. I was a lawyer. And I didn't like law. I didn't like practicing law. And my wife was a school teacher at the time.
Okay.
And one day I came home and I said, I'm going to quit. She says, you're going to quit your own firm. I had started a small law firm with a partner.
Right.
I said, I can't do this the rest of my life. She said, what are we going to live on? I said, well, you're a school teacher. You make $250 a month.
Right.
Sounds like a lot of money to me, And so I decided that I wanted to be a businessman. And I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Right.
I had no idea whatsoever. But I knew one thing. I believe in trends. And if you read the trends in the 70s when this occurred, the United States was heading out of being a manufacturing business into a service-oriented economy. So I knew I wanted to be a service business.
Right.
What I did was I applied for jobs in service industries. Some of my favorites were I worked for a car wash chain called Super Suds. I used to drive home with a little blue jumpsuit on and stuff like that. I did. I did.
I want pictures.
And eventually I went to work for a messenger company in New York City. I thought this was just before the advent of FedEx and stuff. And I saw the need for this.
Right.
So I started that business. I did, I guess, market research. And the market research was getting jobs in those industries until I found one that I liked.
Yeah.
And so even today, when I start a new business, I do my own market research. I don't pay for it. There's great places to go. Most companies belong to industry groups. So you can go, they have a conference once or twice a year.
Right.
You can go to there to find out about it. Our shredding business,
Right.
I went to, which was part of our archival business. I went to their industry conference to find out about it. So
Right.
there's things you can do that cost you nothing
Yeah.
to find out about it. My suggestion is, unless you have some expertise or you work for some, an interesting fact that I would say 70% of all businesses are started by people who worked for that business.
Oh, okay. So they got.
But
the
I also
experience.
want to tell you that 95% of all statistics are made up on the spot. But I take a survey a lot of times. I ask the
Right.
audience, how many of you came from a business and started a similar business? And I would say much more than half the people raise their hand.
Right.
So it's not unusual to work for somebody and then go out and start a similar business.
Try to bring it to the next level. How could an entrepreneur be self-aware that they are at a stage when they should be asking for help?
Well, I think that most entrepreneurs need help in one way or another. They find it's very difficult to talk to people inside their company because of the fact that everybody has some sort of axe to grind inside your company, and you may not be
Right.
getting the true answer.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that people are out to hurt you, but they don't give you the real answer. Like, if they think you're doing a bad job or they think you're doing something wrong, why would they jeopardize their position in the company and tell you?
Right. Yeah.
So I think it behooves every entrepreneur to find somebody to help them. First, I suggest they go to a group, whether it be EO or
Yeah.
Vistage, as I spoke before,
Yeah.
or a local marketing group, or somebody,
Mastermind group. Yeah.
a mastermind group, to find like entrepreneurs who have similar problems to help them.
Yeah.
Then the other thing I also suggest is find a mentor, somebody like me. There's lots of men and women around who I know, if you ask them, they'd be more than happy. They don't do it actively like I do, but if you ask them, most successful entrepreneurs would do it in a heartbeat.
Right.
So they don't get asked a whole bunch. And it doesn't have to be somebody in your industry.
Yeah.
Industry specific is one thing, but business is business.
Right.
And there's lots of good tips and things you can pick up from other people who have done it before you.
Right.
The other thing is there's no shame in failure. And so a lot of people, when they fail or when they get in trouble, they feel like they've done something wrong and they hide.
So you rose from the Phoenix. City Stores is doing great. So please continue the business journey.
So I always had an exit strategy. First, I told my children that I was never building the businesses for them. So I knew that my businesses would end up being sold. There's two things I can tell entrepreneurs. There's two ways to build your business, and you should do them both.
Yeah.
One, you build your business like it's going to last forever. Mm-hmm. Now, why do you do that? Well, if you do your business like it's going to last forever, if you build it that way, you don't take shortcuts. Mm-hmm. You don't hire from competitors. You don't do things you shouldn't be doing. Right. So if you have your mindset is your business is going to last forever, mm-hmm. you have plenty of time to succeed in what you're going to do. Plenty of time to train people. You don't have to take in people that from other places, right. Etc. The second thing you do, whether you're going to sell your business or not, build your business as if you're going to sell it. Mm-hmm. Why? Because when you sell your business, what do you want, more money or less money? You want more money.
Sure.
Correct. So you use best practices.
Right.
You do things planning them out as if you're going to sell your business because you want to get the most for mm-hmm. selling your business. Right. So if you build a business that way, you're building value in your business. Mm-hmm. You know, when people come to me, especially smaller entrepreneurs, they said they're struggling day to day. I said, listen, there's two things happening. One, you build your business so you earn a income. And two, if you're going to sell your business, you're building value within the business themselves.
Right.
So I always planned on selling my business.
Mm-hmm. So, but you're still very much an entrepreneur. You still got a lot of things going on.
I do.
So please tell us about that.
So I have 3 businesses currently. Mm-hmm. One is a chain of fast casual Japanese restaurants that we started 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. The second thing is we started Birthing of Giants. Mm-hmm. And that's a company that's been around for some time. We picked up the rights to the name of the birthing.
Yeah.
And
I went through the program from 2006 to 2009.
It was a great program.
Yep, saw you speak there.
Yeah, I spoke there. And so we're doing it now in conjunction with Duke University.
Great.
That's happening. And then I have a hotel company in North Dakota. Mm-hmm. I was in the Bakken before anybody was in the Bakken. Mm-hmm. And that was really great. We got all our money back, made a considerable amount of money, and now it's in the dumpster because of the downturn in the price of oil and the foam coming off the top of the excitement in North Dakota. Business is off about 95%.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot.
That's a lot. But nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? So
yeah, we did okay. Listen, here's what happens. Nothing lasts forever.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah, yeah. We just talked about
You can have
Kodak,
big,
right?
long runs.
Yep.
Exactly, and stuff like that. So that's what happened, but that's okay, too.
Yep. So, Norm, before we go, so you've talked to and helped thousands of entrepreneurs. Are there some themes of some common, I want to say mistakes or just errors that a lot of beginning to middle stage entrepreneurs are making over and over again that we could on the show solve it once and for all?
Well, I don't know about solving it, but here's what happens. Most people, the biggest problem that I see with startups and first-time entrepreneurs is they don't understand the numbers of their business. Mm-hmm. They said, I have an accountant. They're afraid of numbers. You know, that an overwhelming majority of the people who start businesses come from sales.
Right.
They're frightened of numbers, and so they say, my accountant will handle that. So I don't want to talk badly about accountants, but basically accountants are historians, mm-hmm. and they report the past. Yeah. You need that. Yeah. Because the past somewhat predicts the future. Right. But by the time you get accounting numbers, it's too late. Yeah. You have to understand your own numbers. You have to be able to read and interpret. You're going to have to be able to know what gross margins are. So in that case, a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand about the numbers. So, and it's real simple to do. The second thing they don't understand is, and I would say the overwhelming majority never looked at a balance sheet and don't know what a balance sheet is.
Right.
So the definition of bankruptcy is real simple. When your short-term liabilities exceed your short-term assets, you're bankrupt.
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean you're going out of business or you file for bankruptcy, because you could last forever for that. But you have to understand that. And you have to understand the relationship of your balance sheet to your business. So if you're lucky enough to understand gross margins and look at your income statements and stuff and understand that, that's one thing. But more people don't understand their balance sheet.
Right.
So those two important things, that's what's missing, particularly with first-time entrepreneurs. They don't understand the numbers.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would do is find other entrepreneurs who can explain it to you. So you know the difference between cash and accrual.
Right.
So you know the difference about margins. You should have all this at your fingertips. You know, every Monday in every single one of my businesses, I get a flash report. I call them critical numbers that help me define what we're doing in business. Of course, sales, you should always know on Monday what you did for the following week. But I get my gross margins, my gross profits, and not fancy. So by the time the month ends, I guarantee you I can be within 1-2% of what I did in business. And accountants may have that balance sheet or the cash sheet 3 weeks later.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I know what it is. And a weekly basis.
Daily dashboard, weekly dashboard.
A weekly dashboard. And on a daily basis, I can spot trends and problems that occur. And I think that's really important to understand to run your business. It's not guesswork anymore. So you can anticipate a problem before it happens. So that's one thing that they always make. The second thing that I think is important is that trying to stay ahead of things. In other words, it also has to do with numbers. When do, you know, people ask me, well, how do I know when to have another salesman put on? Or how do I know what put on? Well, numbers dictate that. If you put on a salesman and you know they're not going to close accounts, or you're not going to get the cash for a year, well, you have to have a year's salary to be able to pay that person.
Anticipate that.
So if you understand that, you'll know when it's time to hire people. I always like to hire in advance, because I want to build my business to go. But the question is, can I afford to do it?
Right.
Can I afford to hire a non-productive person? And by non-productive, I mean they're not getting me sales. I don't mean that they're not necessary.
They're generating actual revenue.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I got to be able to pay that person.
Yeah.
So it's not a trick or a secret when to do it or how to do it. You know?
Yeah. Well, Norm, thank you so much for being my first guest on Avanti Entrepreneur TV. But even more so, thank you so much for all you've done through the years, helping me, helping thousands of entrepreneurs, and just your local community. Really, you've made a huge difference in this world. So I just want to be really grateful for your time and really grateful for all that you've done for us. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And just parting, if people watching this and they're dying to get in touch with you, do they tweet you? You know, how would they recommend they get in touch with you?
So it's real simple. You can tweet me. You know, I never carry a business card.
Right.
And the reason I don't carry a business card is because if you go to a function and everybody's business cards, you end up with, you know, 100 or 50 or 20 business cards.
Right.
And you look at them, you don't remember any, you throw them away.
Right.
But if you really want to get a hold of somebody, and if you remember the name, there's easy. So me, at Norm Brodsky, they can get any information they want from that.
Yep.
And I'll even give them my cell phone number, and they can call me up.
Right.
Or if they're in New York, they can come and have a session with me anytime they want. So it's easy to get a hold of me.
So at Norm Brodsky.
At Norm Brodsky.
And you actually handle your own Twitter.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, Norm, thanks again. Really appreciate it, and I wish you massive continued success.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you. So really hope you enjoyed that interview with Norm Brodsky. I learned so much. I love hearing about his successes and his failures and his stories. He's such an incredible inspiration and just so free with his wisdom. I really thank you, Norm. I hope you enjoyed Avanti Entrepreneur TV and continue to watch for more episodes.